You know, there are some stories we hear so often, we feel like we know them inside and out. They're part of our cultural wallpaper. But every now and then, you find a detail hiding in plain sight that just changes absolutely everything. And today, we're looking at one of the biggest, most famous stories of all time.
So, let me ask you, when you picture Noah's Ark, what do you see? I bet for most of you, it's that classic image of animals walking up a long ramp, two by two. You've got your two lions, two elephants, two giraffes. It's what's in all the picture books, it's what we see in the movies. Two of everything. Nice and simple. But is that really the whole story?
Well, the thing is, not quite. The popular version that we all know and love, it actually skips over a really crucial instruction. A detail that doesn't just add to the story, it kind of flips the whole thing on its head and shows us a much, much bigger picture. Now, to be fair, you can see exactly where the 2 by 2 idea comes from. It's right here in Genesis chapter 6. It says it plain as day, two of all living creatures, male and female. And that makes perfect sense, right? It's about preserving every species, a massive conservation effort before this world-ending flood. This is the verse everyone remembers. But, and this is a big but, if you keep reading just one chapter further, the instructions get an update, a pretty major one actually. And this is where that neat and tidy 2 by 2 image starts to get a little more complicated. Okay, let's dive into this. So what we have is basically a tale of two commands. On the one hand, you've got that general rule from Genesis 6 that we all know. But on the other, there's this second, more specific command from Genesis 7. Think of it less as a contradiction and more like an amendment, adding a critical new layer to the plan. And here it is, the verse that changes everything. Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal. Whoa, wait a minute. Suddenly the math isn't so simple. It's not 2 of everything. For a whole category of animals, the number just jumped from 2 to 14? 7 pairs? That number isn't just a tiny correction. It's a total game changer. It tells us, right off the bat, that not all animals on the ark were there for the exact same reason. And of course, that leads us right to the next big question. Okay, what on earth makes an animal clean or unclean? This distinction, it turns out, is the absolute key to solving the whole mystery of why there were so many extras. So these terms come from ancient Hebrew law. Clean, or tahor in Hebrew, basically referred to animals that were ritually pure. This meant they were suitable for 2 very important things, being used in sacrifices to God and being eaten for food. Unclean, or tameh, was, well, everything else. Animals that were off limits for both of those purposes. To put it in more practical terms, just look at these examples. Your clean land animals are things like cattle, sheep, and goats. For birds, think doves and chickens. On the other side of the fence, you've got unclean animals, like pigs and camels, and birds of prey, like eagles and vultures. So you can see there were some pretty clear lines drawn. Okay, so now we get the categories. But that brings us right back to the main question, why the surplus? If all you need is 1 pair to keep a species going, why would Noah need to bring 14 sheep or 14 goats? The answer is because the ark had more than just one job to do. See, we tend to think of the ark as just a lifeboat, a floating zoo designed purely for survival. But it was so much more than that. It was basically a starter pack for rebooting all of human civilization on a totally clean slate. And to do that, you're going to need way more than just a breeding pair of some animals. And the logic behind those extra animals is actually pretty brilliant when you break it down. First, worship. One of the very first things Noah does after the flood is build an altar and make a sacrifice. He needed those extra clean animals for that. Second, sustenance. I mean, Noah and his family had to eat. If they ate one of the only 2 cows on board, well, that's the end of cows. The extra pairs were their food supply. And finally, you have conservation. That was the base level job for every animal pair, both clean and unclean. This really lays it out perfectly. The unclean animals, with their single pair, had one primary mission, conservation. Just keep the species going. But the clean animals, with their 7 pairs, were the ultimate multitaskers. They had to handle conservation, plus be available for worship, and serve as a food source for the family. They were pulling triple duty. So at the end of the day, that simple 2 by 2 story isn't wrong, it's just incomplete. It's the story of survival. But the 7 pairs story, that's the story of foresight, of planning, and of the incredible logistics of actually restarting the entire world from scratch. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If a story this famous, this foundational, has a detail this massive that most of us just breeze right past, what other secrets are hiding in plain sight in the stories we think we know best?